What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and tomorrow we'll return with more videos where I'm actually showing the firearm and so on. It's been hard with everything going on upstairs, and on top of that, tonight's my son's birthday, so I'm not going to go super hard with videos. Anyways, another aftermarket part failure has occurred. So I have a P80 43 build, or single stack, PF9SS is like Polymer 80's term for it. Anyways, basically same size as a Glock 43. Now, when I make certain builds, I don't always use OEM parts. Now, what I've said in previous videos is I always use OEM parts. That is when I'm talking about carrying. If it's a firearm you know you aren't going to carry, like I don't carry any of my Polymer 80s. Legal reasons, it gives it, the judge and, the prosecutors more ammo against you, and so on. Anyways, but I do put aftermarket parts on certain carry firearms, but they have to be reputable. Now, like I said, on builds and stuff like that I know I'm not going to carry, you don't really have to worry about it because it's not going to be your life depending on it. Now, this was sad because it was from a reputable company that I actually really like, and I'm still going to recommend. I'm not going to just automatic say that this is, an end all. I love Hooper Gunworks. They're a great company, but I was making this build, and I just wanted to make something that was cheaper. And on top of that, I saw metal guide rod. Now, at first glance, it looks just like your average metal guide rod. Then I started shooting it, and the drag was incredible. Now, here's how I know it's not my build. You'd feel a lot of weird drag, and every time you go to take the firearm down and slide your slide off, like about 75% of the time or so, it would get caught, and that is the worst thing. I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen in a Glock or so on. But anyways, that guide rod slips off a little bit as you're taking it down. Now it's stuck. It is terrible. It feels miserable to try and get it, unstuck. Anyways, the Hooper Gunworks 43 upper parts kit came with a metal guide rod, and it was cheap. And I'm like, perfect way to finish this build. And it had zero malfunction, so I guess I can't say that it was a failure. But what I've noticed is it's having a harder and harder time shooting. Even when I go to rack put a round in the chamber, basically when I'm pulling on this slide, sorry, I just started thinking about something else. Anyways, when I'm pulling on that slide, pull it back, you feel like a little grind. Then when you release, you feel that same, like a little bit of friction that shouldn't be there. Just something didn't feel right. I didn't know it was the guide rod. Honestly, I thought it was the Cerakote that was on my slide. Now, the reason why I know it's the guide rod and not my build, people will say, oh, your holes were too low, and so on. I took an OEM guide rod out of my Glock 43X, put it in there, ran flawlessly, smooth, no sliding, no rubbing. So anyways, I took that metal guide rod out, and I inspected it. And what I noticed is on these guide rods, on the OEM one as well, they have those two indents. But what I've noticed about these indents is they are catching onto something. There's something wrong with the way they're shaped. There's something wrong with just the way they're put together, and they are catching. And as it's shooting, it is just nicking a little bit of that metal off every time you shoot. You'll see these little indents. They are so worn, and they're getting worse and worse. And they even have metal like fragments sticking out of them. It's just a regular metal guide rod. Anyways, and then what else I noticed is, and this could be the issue, is where your guide rod goes through the slide, this would move around. It would have a lot of play and a lot of wiggle room, potentially making this hang a little too low, and this part catching. I don't know why that is. Not sure. Second, I threw my OEM guide rod in there. Problem solved. Anyway, so yeah, that's just the importance of good parts on carry firearms. Like I said, I wasn't carrying this firearm, but this is just a good example of why, like, let's say you make a build, a Glock frame, use a Glock OEM frame, but aftermarket parts kits for, everyday carry, you might run across something like this. It runs smooth for a while, and then you start realizing drag and something weird happening. You don't want that. So, anyways, you got to use trusted companies like Apex, Wheaton Arms, people like that just make great, great products that actually have been even known to fix problems on stock Glocks. You want to go with reputable sources like that. You want to spend money instead of trying to save money with these budget part kit and stuff like that. But if it's a build just for fun, you could still run it with this guide rod. But I was noticing all the drag, and the last thing I need is, on a build, that I want to carry, having something like this affected. So that's why I always make sure Glock OEM parts, unless it's a very reputable company. Anyways, thanks for watching.